It's summer 2020 and city streets begin to move again, but in the heart of the city, Guildhall Yard stands empty. Out in the country, something stirs. The long haul to Metropolis begins. Today we remember this was the way it was before lockdown. Busy streets, carts of old, by horse, by foot, by mechanical power, all came to be marked by the keeper. That was cart marking, as we knew and loved it. Now it's July the 15th, and this year it isn't quite cart marking, but Carmen are not easily defeated. So this is Cart Parade 2020. Streets are getting busy as vehicles begin to arrive. Catching up with old friends and refreshments, of course. Let's soak up some of the early morning atmosphere. Horses have their nails done. Good. Horse. Pray silence for the master, Colonel Simon Bennett.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to Cart Parade 2020. This is a year we may regret, but we certainly won't forget. When we last met in March for our awards banquet at the Mansion House, we were looking forward to meeting again in April for Foundations Day and our truly special Joint Services Award Night. And in the background to this, we were planning for the biggest get-together in the Carmen year, cart marking, in July. All sorts of problems were emerging when we were planning this event on behalf of the Corporation of the City of London, but these were being dealt with. Road closures, gas main repairs, unexpected costs, you name them. Just as we were seeing a way through, the country went into lockdown and Guildhall Yard had to be closed. Let's say this straight away. Next year, we will be back in the yard at Guildhall. Bigger, better, more accessible, with greater public viewing and engagement. Cart marking is second only to the Lord Mayor's show as a high-profile city event, with senior city figures, livery masters, wardens and many others actively seeking invitations. This year, the country may have been locked down, but its people have not been locked out of what they need, because its movers have shaken their fist at the virus and kept the wheels turning 24/7. We can be proud to be Carmen. Today, let's celebrate our heritage, maintain and sustain our good service. Carmen have shown yet again, as our forebears did, that our employment requires stout bodies and minds unheeding. We may not be able to meet, drink and be merry, or to mark our many carts, but we can still put on a great show. I'm truly delighted and privileged to also welcome the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor, Alderman William Russell.
I'm delighted to join you today for what should be the annual cart marking. This year obviously is a little different, but despite the disruption, the Carmen have risen to the lockdown challenge with this evocative cart parade. Nevertheless, I'm very excited for when we can meet again in person. And now that I'm completing a second year in office, I will be sure to attend the real cart marking next year. Even so, it's truly wonderful to join you in spirit and film today. Just as the livery at large is the heart of the civic city, yours is the city's bloodstream through movement and mobility. Throughout the lockdown, Carmen have carried essential goods, delivered emergency supplies, supported the less able, and reached out wherever they were needed, and often well beyond. So today, as we salute vehicles old and new, and celebrate 500 years of vehicle marking, even if we can't brand any carts, I salute you all. Tomorrow we'll move forward together, in the words of your motto, Citi Cito Certe, with skill, speed and safety. Thank you.
The city police have always been there to help Carmen, and their bike is properly marked. But first, everyone needs to be safe and sound as we welcome the Master Glover, Roger de Courcy.
I'm both honoured and privileged to be invited to take part in this important annual event in both of the calendars of the Carmen and of the City of London. On behalf of the Worshipful Company of Glovers, I have great pleasure in presenting you with a pair of heat-retardant gloves to protect your hands and those of the Lord Mayor during the cart marking ceremony.
Thank you, Roger. I'm looking forward to using these, maybe not this year, but hopefully next year. Thanks again.
Walking, riding, pushing or pedalling, here are the Barrow Boys and the Bikers, the 1920 Smithfield Bummeries handcart, and the Removers from Carter Paterson in 1910. Here too is the 1955 Raleigh trade bicycle and the Butcher's bike of 1991, followed by today's Hercules electric delivery bike. By foot and by hand, they deliver the goods, especially in 1892 with the Carmen's own Even Cook handcart, to one day give way to the 20th century mechanical power. And now, as mechanical power arrives, we turn to steam.
So the engine is a Burrow 5-horse, it's a 3-speed engine. The engine number is 3849 and called Marshall Foch. It was new to Frederick Payne and Red Bull, and he actually hired the engine from Burroughs. And the story goes that Mr. Payne didn't keep the payments up. So a man from Burroughs was sent to collect the engine. But Mr. Payne didn't want him to have the engine, so the night before he was taking it, he got him drunk. But in the morning when they all got up, the man from Burroughs and the engine was gone. The engine is, like I say, a 3-speed engine. You pick what gear you want to set off, you don't change gear on the move. And how it works is the fire sits up under there on fire bars, and the heat goes through the boiler. The water level is approximately there. And if you come around the front here, the heat comes up through the tubes, through there. The tubes are surrounded by water. When this door is shut, the smoke goes up the chimney, up there. And then the energy from the engine driving the crankshaft can be used to drive a flywheel around the other side. There's the flywheel. That flywheel then drives a belt, and that will drive this dynamo up here. And that will generate about 120 amps.
Well, it just gives you an inkling of the power of this machine. It will be incredibly powerful. As I said to you earlier, this was the size of showman, and the showman will pull about up to 4 or 5. Steam competed with centuries of horsepower as we look behind the scenes and the reins. For Carmen did not invent the wheel, but they made it their own, not least with their green and sustainable cart of 1910, long since restored by the company and normally in daily summer service at the Ironbridge Gorge Museum, carrying visitors around shops and workshops of other trades and guilds. Horses, then, were indeed the lifeblood of the city. delivering goods and carrying people. Street cleaning, movers and shakers, butchers and bakers, and gin makers. Oh dear, morning! Then engines took power from horses.
Hello, my name is Paul Sainthouse. This is Route Master number RM1400, which was cart marked in 2019. It is in 1970s and 80s livery of white roundel and white band, as opposed to the gold lettering and cream band of the 1960s. When we first received it, it was in particularly poor condition, having been outside for more than 20 years, but we undertook full restoration to the condition you see today. It was initially entering service on Route 36 in 1963, and coincidentally ended its life on Route 36 in 2004. RM1400 was originally powered by a Leyland 600 series engine. Not the best engine in this type of vehicle, but this one certainly lasted a reasonable amount of time. It was repowered with a Scania unit in 1997 by London General. The driver's cab we spent a good amount of time restoring, as it would have been in the area in which we're trying to represent. As you will see, the controls are very simple. There's nothing in there to distract the driver from his duties, and it was certainly very functional, but at the time considered very ergonomic. As we get on board, you'll recognise hopefully some of the features of that era. The cork-based Treadmaster flooring, phenomenally durable and heavy by modern standards, is a large and memorable feature. The standard Routemaster kit on all of the seating, which was designed to have maximum durability and create a warm environment. And of course the yellow ceiling, which some say was to mask the amount of nicotine residue created during an era where people could smoke on board. The warm air heating was also a new innovation at the time on the Routemaster and was designed to keep the passengers in the same level of comfort as they saw in a modern passenger car of that time. Now I'll take you upstairs. People remember these vehicles for a number of things. The ability to jump on and off the moving platform at the back was one. I'm sure that many of you remember that, and also the ability to climb up and down the stairs while the vehicle was moving. Here you can see what the top deck looks like. Very similar to the downstairs, where notably there is also the tungsten lighting. I'm not sure how long these bulbs would have lasted in a modern environment, but certainly they were very atmospheric during the period up until the 1980s when they were phased out. To the rear is what we call a lover's seat. I'm sure everybody had their favourite position in this vehicle. Mine was actually just behind the driver, where you could see exactly what he was doing.
Here we have a 1936 Albion, made in Glasgow. When it came from the factory, it would come chassis and scuttle, so that would come from the factory, there's that scuttle on there. Then the cab was manufactured by somebody else, I can't tell you who, later stage. She was supplied originally to Bassett Sweet people in London, Woodbury in London, delivering around the home counties. They kept it for a number of years, and after that it went into showman's life. A company called Thurston's of Northampton, who used it throughout Great Britain, pulling up to 3 trailers. When she was new, Albion usually supplied petrol engines, but if you sort of said no, you wanted a diesel, and you're going to buy an ARF or a Leyland or whatever, got a diesel engine, Albion would put in a diesel engine, and this has got a 5LW Gardner engine, and absolutely reliable. As long as you've got a battery on her, you can start on the handle when she's hot, but when she's cold, you give in before the engine starts, I'm afraid. As I say, went to Thurston's, the fairground people, they used it pulling the waltz all throughout Great Britain until the 60s. It then just got parked up. I bought it in the late 70s in a derelict state. It had a box fan body on at the time. I lifted the box fan body off and that completely collapsed. As a haulage contractor, we never really ran box fans in that era, so I put a flat body on it and put it in our livery. Took a lot longer than I thought for. This is all wood panels covered by aluminium, but yeah, we're very pleased with it. And, speed-wise, 25 miles an hour is fine. 28 miles an hour, the cab's rattling and you're holding on for dear life.
The wheels that turn the Carman's cars are stilled as we watch the Master-elect in 2019 mark this 1890 luggage cart, as he might have done today, when Providence decided 2020's branding letter B for Bennett. After the Lord Mayor came the 1910 dust cart. Then lunch later with 1920 food on wheels, with these Chelsea pensioners in their 1890 Rambler charabanc. In 1890, goods came in a compact delivery van, while we went visiting in a governor's cart of 1898. And when we moved in style, with this rail-friendly 1902 Pantechnicon. And we kept in touch through Her Majesty's Royal Mail, which today shares 5 centuries of service with the Carman. Today we travel fast on flyover and motorway.
This is one of about 2,000 crash cushions on the UK road network. Increasingly, you'll see these on the motorways, with guys laying cones from the side of the vehicle so that they are forming a moving taper or a roadblock. On smart motorways, you'll see crash cushions slowing down the traffic if there's an incident ahead. This kind of crash cushion has been in operation on UK motorways and main highways for about 15 years. But most recently, a major campaign is underway by Highways England to improve road worker safety. The organisation is now testing autonomous vehicles. The crew work off a lead vehicle laying cones, whilst a second driverless vehicle follows exactly in its tracks. The second vehicle mimics the lead vehicle, so it accelerates, brakes and steers in exactly the lead vehicle's path. The crash cushion is carried on the second vehicle, and in the event of a hit, all impact is on a vehicle with no operatives aboard. Off-road tests are now currently underway, and you will see these vehicles on UK motorway network very soon.
Here we are today at Joe Dean's at Greetland, looking at this Leyland Lynx, produced in 1940 for the War Department and demobbed in 1948 to the Ministry of Supply. It eventually worked for the Atomic Energy Research Authority at Aldermaston and later at their testing ground in Essex.
Oil has powered our trucks and buses, tippers and vans. Cabs and coaches and ambulances. It also steamed ahead with the 1937 Sentinel steam wagon, while World War I mechanisation brought 1,000 AEC-B-type buses to the front, as we sallied forth in 1914's Leyland torpedo charabancs. We carried goods with AEC's 1977 Mammoth Major Tractor Unit, and tipped them today with this Dennis Elite 6, our benevolent trust helping disabled kids move about a bit with Man's Trelaw coach, while we go electric for climate's sake with Isuzu's Panel Tech, a far cry from mechanical horsepower.
A horse can pull more than it carries. It also has a walking speed of just 4 miles per hour and can only work 5 hours a day. The Scammell mechanical horse could reach speeds of over 20 miles an hour and could work all day and all night, and quickly saw off the horse and cart when it was introduced in the 1930s. Just like a horse and cart, the mechanical horse had to be able to turn on a sixpence because station goods yards were very narrow. This 3-ton 1934 vehicle is one of only 30 still in existence in the world. The original mechanical horse was a simple design fitted with Scammell's own petrol engine that sits behind the driver. Along with its turning circle, the key to the Scammell success was the amazing way it coupled to its trailers. Scammell invented the automatic coupling, which meant that drivers could stay in the cab, simply reverse back to the trailer, wait for the clunk, and then drive off with the trailer attached. To remove the trailer, all they had to do was pull a lever. The trailer landing gear wheels would lower to the floor as it would detach. To start the vehicle, you needed to use the cranking handle, which gave the driver a little exercise. Hundreds were bought by railway companies and were used to take goods from factories to the railway station, where the goods were onward shipped across the country on steam trains. Another big market for these trucks were breweries, and they were used as drays to deliver beer to pubs and hotels. This particular vehicle is in the livery of the Northampton Brewery Company. It was originally restored in the 1980s but had fallen into disrepair. It was donated to the Rushden Historical Transport Society, who have put it back into its resplendent form. This is a beautiful example of an ERF Sabrina. There were only 126 trucks made of this type, and what you see today is a pristine truck in as good a condition as when it originally came out of the factory. ERF was named after Edward Richard Foden, and the Sabrina was one of the first trucks built with a full wraparound windscreen. It was nicknamed Sabrina by the factory workers because of its curvy features and large bonnet, which reminded them of a pin-up model of the time. However, the bosses never acknowledged this name, and it was known as a 66 GSF. This particular vehicle was bought by Finlocks of Tunbridge Wells, who used it for carting concrete gutters. They actually bought 2 trucks, but this is the only one known to still exist. The vehicle was later acquired by Chambers of Nottingham, who eventually converted into a breakdown truck by shortening its wheelbase by a metre and adding a transfer box to lower the gear ratios. It changed hands several times until acquired by its present owner in a very run-down condition. The vehicle underwent a major restoration, including replacing the chassis rails, removing the transfer box, increasing its wheelbase back to its original length. This 120 horsepower vehicle has a gross vehicle weight of 20 tonnes. Everybody's in love with Sabrina.
Not all Carman's cars are carts or trucks or even barrows. Occasionally there are motor cars, some top of the range. Carman's cars are marked to ply for hire, not least the best of Britain, Rolls-Royce. And this 1923 Silver Ghost was originally the grand carriage of Lord and Lady Astor of Hever. The third owner of this aristocratic automobile was garage owner John Roscoe, who downsized it as a tow truck. During World War II, it raised its game again to save lives and property, hired to Manchester Fire Brigade, who used it to pull a water bowser. Then Edgar Schoen acquired it and lovingly restored it, hiring it out to ABC Television, where it reclaimed fame and fortune with Patrick Macnee as the debonair and elegant John Steed's special wheels in the 1960s television series The Avengers. With Diana Rigg as Emma Peel. It was driven and used hard, and even had breakfast cooked on its engine. When Edgar Schoen died, the car was abandoned. When it was inherited by Carman Tanya Turner from her grandpa Edgar, it was a very tired motor car. But Tanya recognised its elegance, its heritage and its potential. So she arranged some tender, loving care, inside and out. And today it is as good as new. Its power renewed, its beauty restored, her son is its dedicated driver.
Home please, Turner.
And Tanya, its perfect passenger. Once again, this superlative Rolls-Royce is among the best of Britain, a veritable Carman's car, and even has some unusual drivers. The hard work is done, and after another year, albeit virtually, pick up a glass, relax and join us. And let's not forget those pleasurable times dining in Guildhall. Cart Parade 2020 is over, as life gradually returns to London, and more wheels turn, while Carman contemplate the future. In 2021 we will return to Guildhall Yard. Carts will be marked once more, and we will verily meet again. Until then, Move well with skill and speed and safety. CT, CITO, CERTE.